Our guest for today is the incredible Sana Abushaban.
Sana strives for diversity and inclusion for women in tech, and she sits on the board for many of the top engineering and IT not-for-profit organizations and associations in North America. She was actually shortlisted for Canada's Women in IT Awards in 2019.
Sana holds a degree in biomedical and electrical engineering, and she works for the federal government of Canada as an IT project manager. For many years, Sana has been recognized for initiatives, extensive volunteering, and extracurricular work, and for her passion in making a difference in society.
She's the co-founder of the very first Women in Tech/IT network at her department. She is the secretary for North America Board of Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers Communication Society, the vice chair of the Professional Engineers of Ontario Ottawa chapter, and a board member of many other engineering associations and organizations.
Sana has worked as a project manager in the private and public sector. Her main experience is in IT project management. Today, Sana will be talking about the role of a project manager in the IT industry, in the private and public sector, and she'll also discuss the role of women as project managers.
Sana, thank you so much for joining us to impart your experience onto our attendees. We are truly grateful for you to be here. Let's have you take the stage now. Everyone, please give a virtual round of applause for Sana.
Well, thank you so much for the great introduction, and thank you to all the participants that have joined us here today. I'm so grateful for everybody who's joined, and I truly look forward to teaching you all as much as I can within the hour about project management. And I hope also to answer all your burning questions, which I'm sure you all have a whole bunch for me today. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll also be having a little fun throughout this presentation, so I'll make sure none of you are bored. So this is another good thing I thought I'd mention. Thank you so much once again for the introduction, and welcome to the project management. I'll do my very best in this presentation to give you a brief idea of what project management is, a brief idea about me, about my job, and hopefully you'll be interested to really consider project management in the near future. So this is project management. I thought I would start off with this little slide, kind of a quick introduction. This is what it is. Project management is where everybody working together on, everyone has a vision. There's things that it must be developed at the end of the day. And there's different phases that I'll be discussing throughout this whole presentation. So I'll start with, who am I? So this is me when I was a lot younger. This is me in my graduation, actually, the day I graduated. So as mentioned, I'm Sana Abushaban, and I'm an IT project manager. So I am an IT project manager at the federal government of Canada. So what is an IT project manager? I would say I work on projects like databases, security part of the databases, controlling who has access to databases, but more of a project management side. So I'll talk more about what a project management is, and then you'll kind of have an idea of what is an IT project manager. And I have worked in the private and in the public industry. So I have experience in both. I worked in the private for a while before I went into the federal government of Canada. So that actually really helped me in my career and helped me a lot to become a more experienced project manager in both sectors. As mentioned, I work in the federal government of Canada, the Canada Border Services Agency. I'm a professional engineer. So I'm a licensed professional engineer as of, it's almost been a year now. What is a professional engineer? It's someone who has that license that you know that you must, when you do your calculations as an engineer, end of the day, you're making sure you're protecting the public. You sign off on designs. You can approve and stamp your own designs that you're pretty sure that, you know, your calculations are right. And end of the day, you're keeping public safety in the back of your head. So it's a pretty important license for those who are actually considered engineering. I'm a huge advocate for diversity and inclusion. So what does that mean? I'm really involved with anything about, you know, how to increase more diversity in a workplace, how to increase more diversity, you know, it's in different programs at school. So I'm a huge advocate for diversity and inclusion. As mentioned in the really nice introduction earlier, it's I'm a Women in IT Awards. I was shortlisted, so it was a great it's a wonderful thing to be shortlisted from all around Canada, for all around people who've been nominated, including different CEOs, CIOs. It was an honor, to be honest. So it was one of the most important awards out there. I started the very first Women in IT network at my department at CBSA, along with one of the directors. So it's been a huge success, and our goal is really to increase diversity and inclusion, and to hire more women in the IT side at CBSA. I'm the executive board member of IEEE, and PEO, and many more. PEO is Professional Engineers of Ontario Ottawa chapter, so I'm the vice chair. IEEE is Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. It's a worldwide organization, it's huge. I'm also involved with other boards out there, really all related to engineering. Actually, Dr. Roberta Bondar, participant this year, which is one of the very few people who were selected to participate from all around Canada, which is a pretty cool mentoring program for everybody, for those who were selected, a fair few from the private and from the public sector. We get to partner up with different in industry executives, and we get to learn from them. So it's pretty cool. All right, so now that you know about me pretty briefly, I thought of now I can go into details about what is project management, okay? So now I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm going to get you all to talk. I mean, for those who feel comfortable, of course. So what is project management? I kind of gave you a hint in that picture, right? You've seen planning, goals, risk control, teamwork, cost, problem solving, communication. But what really is project management? And that's what I want to hear from you first, before I go ahead and explain what are projects in the beginning and what is project management. What is it really? What do you think it is? Before I go on. So for all of you who are on here, if you're comfortable, of course, if you're able to unmute yourself, since we're only 18 participants total, so it shouldn't be a problem, or you can write it in the chat. Tell me, what do you think project management is? And let's see by the end of this if you really nailed it or not. So go ahead, whoever's comfortable.
I can
A
go.
lot of shy people today.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I can pitch something in.
Yeah.
So something that I've seen that is that project managers are often responsible for coordinating kind of the project pipeline, and yeah, coordinating what different members of the team do throughout the project.
Yeah, definitely. That's one part of it for sure. I see in the chat an engineer who's a manager, not necessarily an engineer, but somebody who manages for sure. And you'll be shocked about who can be a project manager in this presentation. I'm sure a lot of you would love to hear what I'm about to say. Management of project, creating deadlines. Exactly, pretty much it. Creating deadlines and meeting them. This is awesome. Anyone else responsible for division of tasks within a group? Yes, that is so important. There's several different tasks that must be met, and the project manager is really responsible for making sure the work is done, but not doing the work. So keep that in mind. The work is done, making sure the work is done, but you're not doing the work. So that brings a good news for a couple of people who are really not a fan of actually doing the actual work. So since projects are complex and involve many different actors of different sectors, project managers are likely to glue or means of assemble these different parts. Absolutely. You're the boss. You're supposed to, glue everything all together. This is great. So thank you to everybody who participated in the chat. This is awesome. Thank you so much. And to those who did not participate in the chat, thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna go on now and just talk about project management, but I told you this is not gonna be boring. We're gonna do trivia. So this is when, again, I ask you to keep your mics unmuted or to type in the chat. So who doesn't like to have fun, right? So it's not gonna be a boring presentation. So it's time for trivia. All right, so the first question is, there's 3 questions total, and then we'll go on to more talks about project management. But first, let's see what you know about project management. So what skills are required to be a good project manager? So what are some of the skills? First of all, is it A, communication skills? Is it B, organizational skills? C, technical skills? D, A and B's, communication skills and organizational skills? Or E, all of the above? All right, let's see those answers come in. D, D, E, E, D, D, E. Pretty much all D's and E's. E. Okay. A, B, C, D. Yes, that could be true actually. If it's E, for sure it's A, B, C, D, E. All right, so I'll just say what it is, to be honest. I'm pretty impressed that a lot of people put D because the answer is D. You don't need to know anything technical to be a project manager. So I told you there's good news for those who don't want to know how to do stuff, but more manage stuff. You do not need to know any technical skills. I can go into more details about that, but very briefly, if you're a software project manager, you don't need to know how to code. If you're a building engineer project manager, you don't need to know how to do pour the concrete, right? You don't need to know how, you just need to manage it. So that's the good news for those who really don't like technical. So anybody can be a project manager. Keep that in mind. I'll come back to that point. So the answer is D. Sorry, I forgot to put that in. All right. Next slide. All right. So which of the, that's the following, are not follow, which of the following are not part of the project management knowledge areas? So there's knowledge areas, which I'm going to talk about. I want you just to give this a try. Just let me know which ones you think are not part of them. So I'm going to list 4 options. So the first one is communication, quantity, procurement, scope. Oh no, my bad, took it out. I guess you saw the answer. So for all of them I have E, except this one I don't have E. So what do you think it is for those who didn't see the answer? I'm pretty sure everybody saw the answer. So the answer would be, I'll give this one away. It's quantity. There's communication, procurement, scope, and quality. We don't test the quantity of things being done. We test the quality. Is the quality good? Does it meet specific standards? This is important. So a lot of people mix this up. It's quantity and not quality. So this one would have been hard. I'll just move on to the next question. And this time I'll try not to show the answer. So which of the following are not part of the project management phases, right? So we said there's knowledge areas. There's 10 knowledge areas in total, which I'm going to go through, and there's phases. So which are not part of project management phases? You have initiation phase, you have the planning phase, you have the efficiency phase, you have the closing phase. Yes, it's not the answer. You have the monitoring and controlling phase. So which phase do you think is not part of the project management phase? Please put your answers in the chat. I see a question about what is procurement. Teresa, I will go through that right after, I think in the next couple slides. I'll answer that for you shortly, but that's a really good question. So I'll make sure I cover that for you. So which are not part of the project management phases? What do you think, guys? Give it a guess. Try not to Google, please. No Googling. D, A, okay. A. Okay, so a lot of A's. All right, so the answer is actually C. Here's because there are 5 phases to a project. There's the initiation phase. This is when you start figuring out who are your clients, what is this project, where are we going to go with this, right? And then there's the planning phase. Let's plan this project. How are we gonna get the stuff? Who are we gonna hire if we need people to hire? What kind of tools are we going to use? And then we're going to go into efficiency phase. Does not exist there. It's called the execution or executing phase. Executing phase is actually getting the job done in the project. And then there's monitoring and controlling phase. That's when you monitor the executing part. Did it work? Did it not work? What changes can we make? And then there's a closing phase. So there's no phase called efficiency. It's called executing phase. So, but nice try. This is kind of hard to know for those who haven't prepared for the exam, which I'll talk about at the end of the slides here. So next slide is about what are projects, right? To know what project management is, you really want to know what are projects. It's so important to understand the idea of projects. I know as silly as it sounds, like, oh, you know what, Santa, we already know what projects are. You don't need to explain what they are. You know, we've done projects in school, but really the idea of projects isn't really clear. And here I'm here to make you understand that. And then based on that, you'll know what project management is. So projects can be very, very simple, right? Like organizing a birthday party. Yes, that's a project. That is a project, and it's a big project. I think organizing a birthday party is huge, but it's simple. Or you can have a really complex one, like building an apartment or building a spaceship, right? Or working on some tower, or doing medical, like now during the pandemic, we're in shortage, or we used to be in shortage of a lot of ventilators. So now kind of creating these medical devices, right, to help save lives. So you can have a project that's so simple, and then you can have a project that's so complex. And let's talk about the simple. Let me break down the simple and you'll understand the complex part. Project management. Okay, what are projects? Simple projects. All right, so organizing birthday party. All right, so let's see. I want to organize my best friend's birthday party. So who am I going to invite, right? I need to know who am I going to invite. How much is it going to cost? Is it going to cost me a fortune? Is it going to cost me like a couple dollars? Who's going to get the cake? I got to delegate tasks, right? Person ABC will buy the cake, and person EFG will coordinate who's going to join us, and who's going to turn on and turn off the lights when she walks in, for instance, right? All these different things, that's project management. You're the one delegating the tasks. You're the one controlling the costs. You're the one looking at risks, right? So what if she found out? What if there's a way that she can go in and the light wouldn't switch on, right? So you got to work around that. What if then we're going to have to buy candles, So things like that, that's really project management. You look at what ifs, you look at how you can work around things. You look at you delegating tasks, the cost, the time. What time is she going to come in? How long is it going to take us to plan this whole thing, this whole surprise birthday party? So do you see where I'm coming from? This is a project. So really this is what project management is. Organizing a birthday party it's a lot of work, but it is project management. And if you're good at this, you're going to be a great project manager. So same thing applies to complex sides, right? So I work at the Canada Border Services Agency, and I do the access control. So I do project management for cleaning up the access for people who should not have accesses to databases. So first of all, I look at, all right, who currently has access? Why do they have access? Should we hire anybody like consultants to kind of do the back end work, which is like the coding to remove people's access? How much is it going to cost us to hire people? So procurement really is looking at contracts. So to answer your question, Teresa, is looking at contracts. Who do we need to hire? Do we need to buy supplies? This is what procurement is. So simple and complex. Project management it's huge. There's different kind of projects out there that you can manage, but they all have a start and they all have an end, right? All projects have a start and an end, and if there's no end, it won't be called project. So project managers are different. They have a start, there's different phases, they have different knowledge areas, and then they have an end. And they all have goals. And that's what's great about being a project manager. Is like you realize, when you end a project, there's a goal that you must achieve. In each phase of a project, you must achieve a specific goal, and you celebrate that success at the end. Your organization celebrates it, you celebrate it, your management would celebrate it with you. It's great. It's a sense of accomplishment, which is why I love being a project manager. I feel like end of the day, I'm seeing the work that I'm doing and I'm celebrating it. So I'll go into more details in the next slide. And this is where I'm going to go into details about what are the project management knowledge areas. So knowledge areas, there's 10, right? There's 10 knowledge areas in project management, which there's integration, there's scope, the cost, communication. I'm going to go through them very quickly. But before that, I just want to say projects have objectives, right? There's goals, as I mentioned, and according to the project, there's acceptance criteria. So for each phase that you go through, if you want to plan, you need the management to accept what you're planning. You think this project will take 5 months to complete, management would need to accept it. It will take 5 months. You think it'll cost us $3 million? You do the math, you prepare the proposal, you need the management to accept it. So there's objectives. And according to the project acceptance criteria, there's specific parameters and you got to meet them. So projects have limitations like the time, how long it'll take, the cost, how much it will cost us, stakeholders, so they're clients. Your manager could be a stakeholder. You could be, who are your clients who are going to use that project once it's completed? Are you doing a project for a big company that they want you, that they will use the software or they'll use that building? Let's say if you're building a building, who are your stakeholders? You need to know who are your clients. The risk, right? What if something goes wrong? What if the calculations are not right? You got to look at the risks. What if there's a delay? What if something happened? What if a pandemic happened and now we have to stop, right? These are risks. You got to look at what are we going to do? What's the workaround? So that's really important. And that's one of the skills you need to have as a project manager. Resources, who are you going to hire? What tools do you need? Should we buy stuff? Do you need that? Are we going to complete? What can we get, right? To get our job done? What are the resources? And many more. So integration is really knowing what the project is about. Scope, literally the scope of the project. What is it? The cost, how much is it going to cost us? Communication, how would you, as a project manager, you need to figure out how would you communicate with the clients? Would they like you to communicate through emails or would they like to receive updates through the phone calls, right? That's an important part too. Quality, how are you going to measure if what you did is actually meeting the quality standards? Every phase in a project has a quality standard. You got to measure if let's say planning a birthday, let's go back to that simple example. Is it successful? How would you know if it's successful? Well, are they happy? Was the cake good? Or was it a really terrible tasting cake, right? Yeah, you got a cake, but you got to look at the quality. So this is how you measure quality. Schedule, how long does it take to plan something? How long does it take to actually do the work? How long does it take to monitor and control if it's the right work is getting done or not? So you got to take all that into account with project management. The risk, as mentioned, what if something happened? What's the workaround? Stakeholders, who are your clients? Resources, what do you need to finish the job? Procurement, what are the different contracts that you receive? There's different bidding wars that can happen, right? So another company that can help you get your project done will submit a contract saying, this is how much I can offer you to help you. Could you pay me this much? Really, this is what procurement is. So those are the 10 different knowledge areas as brief as possible. So next slide, if I can just, move one thing to the side. Okay, so now that you know what projects are, what is project management? So project management is a way a professional organizes and manages different phases of a project that are necessary to complete a project, right? They manage the different phases such as what is a project, the initiation, the planning, how are we going to do this for each phase? How are we going to complete a project? The executing, the work getting done phase, doing the work for the project and finish it off, the monitoring and controlling if the work actually worked, and closing off the project and celebrating. So project management is a way to organize and manage different phases of that project that are necessary to complete the project. Fun fact, which I mentioned, I kind of gave you a hint in one of those trivia questions. Project managers do not need to know how to do all the work that may be needed for a project. So I have an example of civil project managers, building engineers. They don't need to know how to pour concrete. They don't need to know any of that. They need to know who's going to pour the concrete, right? The resources, which I talked about. They need to know how long, the time, the schedule. How long is it going to take to pour the concrete? They need to know the cost. Is it going to cost us a fortune or not? Or can we afford all that concrete that we need to pour? But do they need to know how to pour the concrete? No, they don't. So you don't need to be technical at all. You don't need to have any technical background. It helps you tremendously, but do you need to know all the technical work? You do not. So project management, has a final deliverable. There's a goal at the end of the day. There's a goal at each phase. There's a goal at the very long run at the end of a project. So it has final deliverables that are based on specific time scale and budget. What's the time? When does the client want me to finish this project? Is it by the end of the summer? All right, does the budget help? So you got to look at these stuff. Next slide. Who is a project manager? So a project manager mainly work with people. So I'm sorry to break to all the people who don't like working with people. If you don't like working with people, I'm not sure if project management might be right for you. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of working with people. It's a lot of communicating. It's a lot of making sure everybody's updated, everybody gets the job done. You got to always be on top of everything. You got to make sure all the tasks are on time. We're not running out of money. We're making sure that there's the risk. We're controlling the risk. We have the right resources. It's all those different things. All of these require talking. All of these require communicating with people. You got to work with people all the time. So project managers really work with people. And especially that they don't do a lot of technical stuff, right? So it's not much sitting down. It's all sitting down, but it's all getting to talk to people. So skills that you need to have as a project manager to be a good project manager is you need to have the right team management skills. If you're a project manager, you gotta, delegate tasks to different people. Person A, B, C, I want you to finish let's go back to the birthday example. Person ABC, you'll be organizing the decoration and get it done by this time, and this is how much money we have. And next 3 people, you'll be getting the cake. She likes strawberry. Make sure you find this kind, and this is how much it's going to cost us. Please get this job done by tomorrow, end of the day, right? Delegating tasks. So having the right team management skills. You have excellent understanding of tasks. How long does it take to complete a task? So you need to have that understanding, like if it's pouring concrete, it'll take 4 days for it to be poured and let's say, I don't know, a couple more days to dry. And I'll take that into account when I do my schedule for completing the project before I send it off to our client for them to approve that, fine, we agree with this time frame. So you had to have an excellent understanding of how long tasks will take. Have a great organizing skills. It's all about organizing and making sure jobs are done. Have excellent communication skills. As I mentioned, it's all about a lot of talking, a lot of networking with people, a lot of getting to know what each person does and updating people all the time and updating clients all the time. It's about time management skills. So having great time management skills, making sure that you're on time and you're not late. It's good to be early than to be late, and it's even better to be on time. So making sure the quality meets the time. Don't rush work, and don't for this to miss out on and end up having bad quality work, because that would not look good for you as a project manager. But really meeting time is so important. Professionals, they're professionals that manage projects, as project managers. These project managers must also achieve specific project objectives, as mentioned, according to the project acceptance criteria, which is identified and which is really the standards are set by both sides, your organization and the clients, the stakeholders. So they must be within specific parameters, which you'll both agree on. Okay, I just want to check in the chat if you have anything. We have a couple questions. What degree do you need to be? So I got this as a direct message. What degree do you need to be a project manager, and how do you become a successful one? This is great. Okay, so I'll answer your question shortly. So you don't need it. I'll just do it now. Actually, you don't need to have a degree, which I was gonna actually mention that in the next coming slide. You surprisingly, you do not need a degree. You just finish high school and write an exam, which I'll talk about, and you'll be a great project manager. You'll be set. You can start working as a project manager. So you don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to be anything else. How do you become a successful one? Experience is so important. Having the experience, working on tiny projects and making your way up and your reputation up as a project manager, that when you get hired to other organizations, they'll look at your experience. oh, wow, this person worked on a $1.3 billion project and she or he managed it. So that's great. So this is how you build your reputation and experience. How do you become a project manager just on its own? Or is it better to have a job already and take the degree or certificate on top of that? I'll discuss that actually right now. For me, what did I do? I got another message. What did I do? I just did engineering. I'll talk about it. Actually, you know, I'll hold that question. I'm just going to discuss it in a bit. Great questions, though. Thank you so much for sending that directly to me. So back to the slides. Project managers. So there's education that's required and not necessarily required. Sometimes not all organizations tell you we want this, but if you have it, it's great. It'll increase your chances of working as a project manager. It's a certification for project managers that's called Project Management Professional, known as PMP. And this certification is entirely optional, right? Not all organizations require it. No one asks you to do it. You don't have to do it, but it is a worldwide known certificate, and it does help you a lot. Kind of if you were to apply with the same experience as someone else, exactly the same, but they have that certification, most likely they'll probably hire that person unless your experience speaks a lot more and has a lot more of what they look for. So it's entirely optional, and there is an exam. So the certification, or to get it, you need to have a little of experience in project management, and you need to do like a 4.5-hour exam. It's all multiple choice. So certified project managers are sometimes in a greater demand, and sometimes they earn higher salaries if they have that certificate. And keep in mind, I said sometimes because it depends on who is hiring you as a project manager. Not all companies, not all organizations would give you more money just because you have it, but it's always great. It always adds more. So to obtain it, you need to hold a 4-year degree in any area. So you can have a 4-year degree in psychology and complete 4,500 hours of managing projects, right? Have that experience. Attend a 35-hour school of project managers. So do a course for 35 hours, so 1 week of intense project management course, and then do the exam. Or you can have a high school diploma or anything equivalent and complete 7,500 hours of project management experience or work, and attend 35 hours of school. So same thing, that course that I told you about, intense compressed course of project management, and do the exam. So what does that tell you? It tells you don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to be, you don't need to have any university degrees. You don't need to have anything. You just need to, a high school diploma is enough. And 75 hours of project management experience is enough. Now, a lot of you will be like, well, how would I get that experience? You will not need, you won't start as a project manager, but you can be a project coordinator. You can do the little tasks that would lead you to get that experience. You can be a project manager assistant, right? Help a project manager. You would still get that experience. So it's really important to gain the experience from working with project managers and being a project manager, of course. So I know I'm getting a whole bunch of questions. I'll keep that until near the end, because I'm pretty sure I'll be answering a lot of them throughout the slides. So I apologize. I'm just seeing the numbers go up, and I apologize if I'm not answering them immediately. So for phases of projects, these are the phases that I've mentioned verbally. There's initiation phase, there's a planning phase, right? How are we going to do the project? Initiation is, what is the project? The planning is, so let me go through them, sorry, one by one. So initiation is, what is the what part? What is the project? So define the project at a broad level. Who am I going to work with? What is it? Right? Is it something that must be done? Do we have the money? Do we have the ideas? Do we have the resource? Do we have everything? What is the project? So we define the project in the initiation phase. The planning phase is, where is this going to go? How are we going to do this? So it's more of a how. And the planning phase is plan the project and develop the roadmaps, right? How are we going to do each phase? Where is this, how is each phase going to be considered successful or not? So really planning everything deeply, each single phase. How are we going to get the cake? How are we going to get the decoration? How are we going to place the decoration? So that's something else. Executing plan, it's to put the plan into action and to create deliverables. So now that we have, again, I go back to the birthday. Now that we have the cake, now we have decorations, now we have everything going on. How are we going to actually place them everywhere? Let's do the work. Let's decorate. Let's put the cake. Let's turn off the lights. It's the do the work part. So you got the what, which is the initiation. What is it? What are we going to do? We're doing a birthday party. Who's invited, right? That's an initiation phase. Planning. How are we going to do this? Executing is actually doing it. The monitoring and controlling part is really the toughest part of a project, because you look at the initiating part and you're like, was it really successful? Did I do this right? Did we do this? Not I, sorry, did we do this right? Have we really met the client's expectations? Did something go wrong? How are we going to fix it? Let's fix it. It takes a lot of energy and work to do the monitoring and controlling, because it's the heaviest part of a project. You would think executing is, which it is, right? Doing the work is huge, but monitoring the work, making sure that it met standards, making sure that clients are happy with what you did, making sure that your executives are happy with what you did, making sure if something goes wrong, how are you going to fix it? Is there a delay? Are we really going to be delayed? How are we going to shorten everything? Can we take off a couple of pieces of the project and mix things up and make sure it molds perfectly? It's the toughest part. And I assure you, if you're ever going to do project management, that it's never going to be a smooth thing. There might be delays. There might be something that's going wrong. They might be something that you not expect. It always happens. We're humans. It happens. And that's why it's the toughest and the longest part. Closing is the nicest, the easiest phase. You celebrate, you close, you make sure that your clients like what you did, they approve of what you did, and you close off the project and you file the reports and you write down, what are the lessons you learned from completing this project? I learned to do 1, 2, 3, 4 for next time. And you file everything away. For those who were to ever do the same project again, they'll look at that report and they'll be like, this is what I learned. This is what the one who did this project learned. Let me learn from that so I make sure I don't repeat the same mistakes. So these are the phases of a project. All right. I just want to make sure we're good with time. I'll rush it. I know we have a couple minutes. Examples of projects. So there's construction, excuse me. There are construction industry, there's the telecom industry, and there's IT industries. You'll hear a lot of project managers work in those industries. They're like one of the most popular industries that require a lot of project managers. The construction industries require a lot of project managers because you got to build, you have different projects. Building a building, itself requires multiple projects. You need a project for each side of that building, right? So construction industries require a whole bunch of project managers. So if you ever want to be a civil engineer, let's say, and you want to do more project management and you're interested in it after hearing this presentation, then definitely consider being a construction industry project manager. Was pretty cool. You have the telecom world. So, your telephone, right? Your cell phone, how do you text your friends on, I don't know, on any of those apps that require internet? You need internet, you need 5G, so how do you have data? How was it created? Looking at it, everything around you is project management. You have a phone because of a project manager or project managers, right? They created these things. They created data on your phone. They created different apps on your phone. They created your phone itself, the hardware. All of these, they're project managers that did it. Everything around you, your computer that you're hearing me talk right now from, is a project. Bunch of project managers created that thing. So really everything is done by project managers, which is pretty cool looking at it. Then you have the IT industry. So looking at the IT industry, again, let's say your computer, something goes wrong with your computer. Let's say something goes on with the software. How how people fix it. And those who fix it, they're really like project managers. They're not doing the technical work, but they're controlling how can we make these machines better for the next time we sell these projects or these products, sorry. It's all project management. So those are the top industries of what are projects, examples of projects, and the top industries that require project managers. So who wants to know how much they make? I guess a lot of you are here because, no, that's not true. You're not only here to know how much they make, but I would be interested if I was your age to know how much a project manager makes. I mean, who doesn't want more dollars, right? So how much do they make? An average project manager salary is between $71,000 to $89,000. And to me, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I really want to be a project manager. Aside from, I kind of figured that I like more managing, and I have a lot of the great skills that I have are organizational skills, team building skills. I have a lot of communication skills. So I found myself more fit in a project manager stream than a technical stream. So some of the project management jobs that you can do aside from being a project manager is a project coordinator, and they make $57,000 roughly. And there's an assistant project manager, they make $66,000 per year roughly. And then you have the project manager that start at $71,000 and they make their way up. IT project managers, they start with $92,000. The reason for that is because everything is becoming IT. Everything's becoming software. Everything's becoming, all those new stuff that are coming up, all these technologies. So now there are more higher demand. And then you have the senior project manager, which starts with $107,000. So we're talking about 15 years of experience and up. So those folks start with $107K, which is pretty cool and interesting. So I'm seeing more questions come in. I'm almost done this presentation. I'll get back to that immediately. But this is how much they make for those who are interested in becoming a project manager. So something else I want to talk about is women as project managers. Did you know that only 17 to 30% of project managers are currently women? I did not know that until I started working. So that alone, it's a number that we really got to bring up for all those ladies who are on this session, if you're interested in project management, thank you. We need you. So this is great. There's very few project managers, and thankfully that number has been increased, but so far the average is between 17 to 30%. So I'm a woman and I'm a project manager, and I'm always out there trying to recruit more women in project management. All right, so the question out there to you guys, so that's lastly, is would you want to be a project manager? So after you have talked for almost an hour, do you want to be a project manager? Is this something you're interested in? Do you see yourself as a project manager? I'd love to know in the chat. Yes, no will be great. Quick yes, quick no. You don't have to tell me more than that. I'm just curious to see if I made a difference, and curious to see if this is something that you're interested in and you find it interesting and you might actually consider it in the future. And this is my last piece before I look at your amazing questions. Follow your passion. I couldn't stress this enough. It's so important to follow your passion. I learned this the hard way because I did not know. I kind of wanted to follow what everybody else was following, kind of thing. I didn't know what I wanted until eventually I figured out, what am I passionate about? Why don't I follow that? Because really, when you follow your passion, everything else falls into place. You're so successful at something you're so passionate about, and it will show. So there's one of my favorite quotes out there that I want you all to take this away with you today. If you want to be successful in this world, you have to follow your passion and not paychecks. So follow your passion, not paychecks, because paychecks come after you follow your passion. It's so important to enjoy what you do and love what you do, because it not only shows in your work, but it makes you happy. You don't want to go to work or do work because it's work. You want to do it because it's something that makes you happy, you enjoy it, and you don't feel like it's a burden. So it's so important to follow your passion because that's where success is. That's when you'll be so successful. So just keep that in mind. And now I'm at the end of my presentation. So questions, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of questions, which I will go through immediately. One moment as I go through them.
Yep. So while you're finding that, I just want to point out the number of people that are saying yes in the chat for wanting to be a project manager after this presentation. So
yeah, I can see that. Oh, yes, money. Money, yes, money for sure. Yes. This is amazing. Maybe I'd like to actually be working on the technical side as well, though. Teresa, yes, you can do both, to be honest. As a project manager, you can also work on the technical side. If you have the experience for it, that's a huge plus, and actually sometimes gives you way more money than that number that I put in there. So it is something important. What I did, Teresa, just to give you, or everybody, just to give a quick background, I started off as a software tester, and then I did technical support, and then I got into project management. So what does that tell you? I didn't start right off the bat as a project manager. I did a lot of technical work. And then that's how I figured out my passion, that I'm really good at things and I really enjoy doing things such as project management. Why don't I consider that change of field? And I did, and it was the best thing that happened to me because that's how I figured what I liked, right? I started off in technical, I did non-technical, and I figured out I like the non-technical. So everybody's different. Explore, the world is yours. Explore what you like and follow your passion. Anyone has a job for project manager? Maybe, I don't know, I'll look and see. Okay, hey Santa, what is the hardest thing about being a project manager? It's a really good question. Thank you so much. The hardest thing about being a project manager is, I would say, making everyone happy. It's always the toughest, because if you add more pressure on those doing the technical work, they're not going to be happy. But your clients will be happy because you'll be meeting what they want. At the same time, if the clients, if you're delayed because of some technical issue that happened, your software, say let's say software developers couldn't finish developing a specific, let's say, app, right? An app. Let's say they're not there because one of our main developers is sick and couldn't make it for a couple of weeks. So obviously the clients won't be happy, but at the same time, you got to look at workarounds, and it's really tough to make everybody happy at the same time. So in my opinion, that's one of the hardest things about being a project manager. But if you're a good project manager, you'd always keep at the back of your head all the risks that can happen in the world, no matter what it is. It could be a pandemic. It could be somebody, half the team not being able to complete the job. It could be we don't have enough money, right? So you take these into the planning phase, which I talked about. You take this into consideration, the planning phase, all the what ifs, because that's what differentiates between a good project manager and an okay project manager. So I hope I answered that question for you. What is the time commitment for project managers per day? It's a normal day, actually. So it's 7.5 hours, 8 hours. It depends. If you have a project to complete very soon and you're late, you can work up to 12 hours a day. But if everything's going smoothly, it's a 7.5 to 8 hours a day job. Really depends on the project, depends where you currently stand. So that's in terms of time commitment. How much would you make on top of pre-existing job if you got a PMP certificate or had experience in it? You can go up to 20K more with a PMP certification. I'm more in the industry for the construction industry. I would say that would matter more. You can make up to 20K more if you have the PMP certificate on top of the experience that you have. Or sometimes your experience could speak a lot more louder than having a PMP certificate, so that you can get the more additional 20K on that. But it does make a difference. Do you get paid differently for each project, or do you just get a yearly salary? It's mainly a yearly salary, Nikki, but something to keep in mind is if you did let's say you work in the private sector, if you did such a great job in getting that project done and everybody recognizes it and the clients are happy, you'll get a pretty good bonus at the end of the year. So keep that in mind. 45 or 100 hours a lot. How long does that take? I'd say like 2 years or so. 2 years. 2 years of experience, that's 4,500 hours. If you're referring to the ones that you're required to have a degree from a university. Was the exam hard? Yes, the exam is hard. The exam is really hard. It's 4 hours and a half. It's not very hard. It's more of, it requires a lot of prep work. It requires a lot of studying. If you studied all the material, the textbook, it'll be fine. You'll be more than fine. It's hard for those, let's say, who haven't studied. The test is I'd say the hardest part about the test is completing everything on time, because you require more time to do 200 questions. It's 200 multiple choice questions, and there's 4 hours and a half. So I ran out of time, but I kind of managed to finish it. And I'm sure a lot of people would have the same problem if they're types to kind of take their time. So what else are there? So I'm just going through all the questions. What degree do you need to be a project manager, and how do you become a successful one? As mentioned, you don't need a degree. You can just have a diploma from high school and you'll be good. Experience to become a good, successful one. Do you become a project manager, or is it just on its own? Also, how did you become project manager? So as mentioned, I was in the technical side. I'm an engineer, so I started as a software tester, then I did some technical support, and then I kind of did project management in the medical industry. So working on the design, the work of the medical side, and I fell in love with it. I found that this is my passion, this is where I belong, and it was great. I started going from that feeling of, again, when I said don't do work because it's work, do it because it's passion, and it won't feel like it's work. That's how I felt with the moment I worked as a project manager, and I decided that this is it, this is my field, this is where I belong, which goes back to my point of discover what you like, try different areas. Also, do you become a project manager just on its own, or is it better to have a job already and take the degree or certificate on top of it? You don't need a degree or anything. As mentioned, you can just get that experience, do the certification, and you'll be fine. All right, now that I went through all the questions, I'm gonna go back to the bottom. Would you recommend taking business courses or business minor in university aside from your actual major? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't need, I don't recommend, I wouldn't say I recommend do it because you love it. Do business minor if you want, right? If you want to work into, if you want to get into industries that require project management more on the business side, definitely have a great business minor would really help. But at the end of the day, it's about having the project management experience in any field. It doesn't matter. So doing a business course or having a minor won't make a difference unless that's the type of industry that you want to head into, then definitely yes. So the better you do, the more you get. Yes, you definitely. And if you're bad, do worse. You do worse. Wow, I can't read now. And if you're bad, you do worse, especially in the private industry, right? It's not about private or public. I think if you're referring to when I said you'll get bonuses if you're recognized for all the hard work you've done. Definitely, you in the private you get bonuses, but if you did bad, you would I would say more of a, you'll have a talk with there'll be a talk for sure between management and you to discuss what went wrong and how could you do better the second round. But probably the value, your salary would still remain as is, of course. The base salary, nothing would change, but the bonus might differentiate versus when you had a really successful project completion. So that's something else to keep in mind. I think I went through all the questions.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
we're just on time for that.
Yeah.
So just to get like a really quick final bit from you, if you had to describe like a person who would make it, well, what kind of person would make an ideal project manager? Just for people in the chat to consider.
What kind of a person would make an ideal project manager is a person who loves to work with people, a person who loves to has great organizational skills, person who loves to work in work with different teams and delegate tasks, kind of take the lead. Someone who really likes to take the lead, somebody who really likes talking and that has that thrive of getting the work done, right? Somebody who really like wants to get things done. So this is somebody I would say would define somebody who characteristics of a great project manager.
Okay, thank you, Sana, so much for answering all of our questions and also the attendees' questions, and also for sharing your wisdom and your experiences.
My pleasure. Thank you all for having me. And I hope I'm glad to see so many yeses in the chat. That made me so happy. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Connie. Thanks, Nikki. And thanks to all the wonderful people. Thanks, Helen, Jenny, for everybody who actually asked me questions and thanked me. Thanks, Angela, Vivian, Aksha. I appreciate it. And hopefully everybody has benefited from this session. And I tried to cram everything in, but sorry because I only have an hour. But thank you for the great opportunity, everybody. Appreciate it.